Okay, well, we're live. For this episode of The View, so great to have you, Rainer, on the show today. Thanks for joining us. Rainer, you are the SVP, head of the SAP Mid-Market Product Management, which includes the suite, I believe, of Business One, By Design, and S/4HANA Cloud, which is a really great portfolio of products. We're really excited to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Nope, thanks for the invitation.
Yeah, and then Phil, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, Phil Kirkham, newly in Calgary, living here. I'm an accountant by profession, not practiced for a long time, but I've been selling lots of business by design, now moving into the S/4HANA Cloud world. So yeah, really excited. And a long-time friend of Maynard Zinow.
Yeah, and thanks for helping us coordinate this. And so, Phil, you and I will be co-hosting this, mostly peppering Rainer with a list of a whole bunch of questions that we've sent over. And Rainer, really the theme of the topic of the conversation today is around sort of SAP's vision of the mid-market, thinking about products and thinking about the services that you offer and the markets in the industry. So really excited to talk about all this with you. But maybe we can start first with just a little bit about you. I mean, you've been at SAP for a number of years, 20 or so, I think it is. How did you get into
32 and counting? Yeah,
32.
Yeah, so I joined long before you both were born.
Yeah. So how did you get into this particular role? Like, what was that path like for you?
As always, I always say luck, and so there's no firm career path in SAP that you walk. I've done nearly everything. So my background is mostly in a development capacity, but I also did alliance management. I ran our education business for a couple of years. I ported the former solution R3 to the AS400. So I've done lots and lots of things. And when you pile up and you have a pretty comprehensive picture, then you get invited to oversee products, to set the direction for product management. And I believe large, and I obviously grew up in the large enterprise space, which is an amazing market to work. But the wide open space, the uncharted territory, is the mid-market. And that's why I really want to be in that area and nowhere else.
What is it that's exciting about that wide open space for you? Like, or specifically the role and how that can help?
But it is. So you have a lot. You have a lot more to do with quotes and quotes owners, who couldn't care less about corporate crap or what some analysts are recently thinking about this and this. They say, I need to accomplish business results. Pretty often they say, my house is on fire. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, oh, this is such a glorious day. Let's go out and shop a little bit ERP. Doing that is one of the really scaring things. And I believe that Phil and I and VistaView, we can help these companies. We can show them a road to a much brighter future, and that is really the exciting part.
Yeah, agreed. Most of the companies that we actually target, Mark, are 50 to 100 employees, and the guy that owns the company is working 6 a.m. till midnight every day because of the fact he's trying to keep the roof over those people's heads and on the table, and it's a huge stress. I've gone through that myself, obviously, and whilst I loved it, I didn't earn anywhere near as much money as I could do in the corporate world, and B, whilst it was great fun, it was an uncharted territory that we were always going into.
Phil, you mentioned, maybe you want to ask Rainer this question. There's this app that you mentioned that Rainer had worked on. I thought was kind of interesting.
Say that again, sorry.
There's just you had mentioned the app that Rainer had worked on.
Oh yeah.
Just talking about products and all that. Maybe you want to ask about that.
Rainer and I were sat having dinner in a big conference, and I noticed that he was fiddling around with his mobile phone, and I asked him about his app, and he's like, yeah, it's to make sure that the lights are being turned off at home. Rainer, maybe you could explain a little bit about what you do as a passion, as well as it's not just SAP technology that you're writing. So
Right. Now, as you probably sense, I'm a passionate techie, and it is in my role. It is super important to understand where technology is going. And in the past, it pretty often was that way, that IBM developed something or Hewlett Packard developed something. But in the last 10 years, pretty often the real trends came from the consumer industry. And I had people coming into my office saying things like, if you believe that mosquito is a fly, then you should be out of business. And to me, mosquito was a fly. What I later learned was they were talking about an Internet of Things protocol called MQTT, Message Queuing and Telemetry, and that this is used in IoT scenarios. And to get my hands around, I said, okay, then I launch a project pretty much to the dislike of my family. I said, I will smart home my home. So what I did was I said, I will only buy one device from one vendor and then integrate everything. And using a software bus, and I picked OpenHAP. There are many out there. And today, this is what I have. So you can see it is 11.8 degrees Celsius outside at 76% humidity, wind from the south, but the wind is not blowing, inside 20 degrees. And if I scroll down here a little bit, then you can see we have the energy crisis in Europe. Energy is really expensive, so I'm tracking carefully how much gas did I consume yesterday, what was the average temperature, so I can build a predictive model to say that will be my gas bill in a couple of months. So that is how I got my hands around Internet of Things, Industry 4.0. And today, if somebody says, hey, how about mosquito, I can discuss which version.
That's amazing.
It's amazing. It really is amazing.
Yeah, I think you should probably retire from SAP at some point and launch that as a product. I know a lot of people, particularly my brother in Germany, who would be very interested in buying that from.
Well, you saw the page. It's open for everybody, and if I was able to get it to work, so will anybody else. But let me tell you, it takes a little while until you get it to work. And then I was over in Singapore, and I get the phone call, and one of my boys calls me and says, "Daddy, the shades won't open." And then I direct them to the basement and say, "Flip that switch." Restart the system, and then the shades may open again.
Back to the old reboot.
Yes.
Perfect.
So, I mean, it's interesting. Like, it's just a great story about your interest in, as you talked about, your passion in trying to figure out some of the challenges that are being faced by the mid-market. And there's a report that we found recently on the National Center for the Mid-Market. They're talking about a couple of the major issues that some of the leaders in the mid-market are having. One being core business issues, and the other being talent management.
Yes.
So from that perspective, I just wondered if you might, if you've got any thoughts on those, whether that's, if I'm interpreting it correctly, or how you interpret it and how you think about some of those challenges when you're looking at designing products for people in the mid-market.
Yeah. So I can only agree with the findings here of that report, because if I say, what do I hear? When companies reach out to Phil and me, they are grown up to a certain level. So they've survived the first levels, and now they say, I need to escape from, as one customer once called it, the Microsoft Excel hell.
Mm-hmm.
He says, he said, I can easily stop a board meeting by just asking how many customers do we have. And I will get at least as many numbers as I have people in the room, and some people may even come up with two numbers. And he says that's something that doesn't work. I need now a robust spine in my body, a robust set of proven business processes. I don't need fancy stuff. I need something which keeps my company going straight. So that's the first thing. I need the spine. The second thing is sometimes when I'm asking customers, hey, what did by design do for you? And I love some of my North American customers because they are so amazingly blunt. They said, well, so far your software managed to keep our CEO out of jail. And you sit there and say, that's an interesting way to describe. SAP helps you to enforce compliance, both from the financial side, from the process side. It has a lot of built-in fraud detection, and it simply gives you some peace of mind. So that's the second thing. So robust spine plus keep the CEO out of jail. And if I pick the third thing, and that is very closely related to the talent management side of the house, it is freaking difficult for mid-market companies to attract talent and to keep talent. But at the same time, a mid-market company must always ensure a very decent decision quality. But how do you manage that when you have a constant inflow of new people and some people are leaving? So this whole story around artificial intelligence and machine learning, I sometimes say large enterprise companies could skip that topic if they would want to. But for a mid-market company, it is mission critical. The only problem is they can't afford a data scientist. They won't even find one. And if they find one, they will not understand what the guy is talking about. So this is where my responsibility comes in, to sense what is possible with ChatGPT and all of the other things, and then translate it into something which is consumable. I always say nobody cares about how we build using deep learning techniques, how we build an image recognition model, but people very much care about that they can take a cell phone and take a picture of a supplier invoice, send it over to By Design or Business One and get it processed. So they don't want any of the techie talk with me. They say, can you help me to process more invoices per hour without hiring an additional person? That's the thing that matters. And they will say, can you help me to identify those opportunities which will most likely evolve into an order while I lost my most senior sales guy? That is what matters to them.
Yeah, Phil, feel free to jump in if you have any thoughts.
No, I completely agree. I think, at the moment, Rainer, we're going through a recruitment in order to be able to find people, and it's incredibly difficult. The report that we were talking about talks about identifying the right kind of people to do specific roles, and it's forecasting really that is going to get harder and harder as businesses grow and move forward into the future. What kind of capabilities are we launching into the product suites that you're responsible for, that that will help us minimize A, the requirement, but B, make us be able to grow at the rates that we're, and the marketplaces are demanding.
Yeah. So what it is a piece of work that we need to do hand in hand. So I can put a lot of enabling technologies into by design, and I will not talk about all of the beauty of BTP today, because otherwise we would be here by tomorrow. But one example, I can put automation technologies into by design, and I've done that. Pretty often we describe it in the short form as you can build bots. What these bots do, and I take a real customer example. I have a customer who will only ship an invoice to a customer if he has evidence of the shipment, which means he has a copy of the delivery note with the signature of the customer on it. The way how the company does it is they really have lots of people who do the whole day long nothing else than going into their inbox, waiting for an email from the shipping company, praying that the picture is not too shaky that the guy took with the signature on it, then look at the delivery note, identify what was the underlying sales order, opening up the sales order and by design, attaching the image to the sales order, and then releasing it for invoice processing.
Yeah.
This entire process can be done completely automatic via bot, so that you may end up with just one person looking at the pictures which are so shaky that the bot says, I need a human idiot to handle that one for me. So that is something I can do. I can put the technology in. I can deliver 5 samples. But here's where VistaView comes into the picture. You need to say, okay, I take the 5, I understand the pattern behind it. And I now apply it for my customers, because nearly every customer has somewhere media breaks, which they are fixing with humans. And I put this technology in your hands to turn it into something that helps your customers to save precious work time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting because I can see where that helps on the talent management side, especially where you've got, an old way of thinking would be more people, that's how you scale. And this gives you that technology. Yeah, where it's very much built into the tool and into the system that you're using, so that it's almost like a performance enhancing drugs. If you go to a sports world where you've got a person that now is more like 10 people because of the technology and the tools that you're using.
But I had a meeting with a customer in the UK, where I really said to them, look, you're live now with by design for 5 years. What is better now? And they had a bit of a hard time to really formulate it. And then the customer said, you know what? We grew in the past. Whenever we doubled in revenue, we also doubled in IT spend.
Mm-hmm.
He said, now that we talk about it, we've completely decoupled IT expenses from revenue growth. And through automation.
Yeah.
And that is the key thing where all of my partners, and specifically VistaView, come in to really help with this decoupling. Mm-hmm. Because the labor market is short. We all know that. So we need to work smarter. We already work hard, so let's forget about working harder. We can't solve the problem with headcount, because either we don't have the budgets or we don't find the people. Mm-hmm. So therefore, we need to apply technology.
And this is really what makes the mid-market so great, because of the fact that we're talking to not just a few companies that can afford at the pinnacle of the business these kind of technologies. We're looking at organizations that never dreamt that they could afford these kind of technologies through a SaaS subscription. I have no idea how much it costs, Rainer, to create an OCR that doesn't actually use any kind of optics. That's measuring the difference between black and white and trying to understand the difference between an O and a 0 next to each other.
Well, I can tell you that we needed, just to build the model for the recognition of the supplier invoice, we had to go through 6 million supplier invoices, which we received through the acquisition of Concur.
Wow.
Just to train the tool to work the right way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm just starting to get my hands around what ChatGPT may do for us in that area.
Wow.
So, ladies and gentlemen, fasten your seatbelts. The next years will be quite a ride.
I'm excited. Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you about that. We've got some time to talk about ChatGPT specifically later. Sorry, Phil, I cut you off.
No, it's fine. Carry on.
I am interested though. Like, we're talking about talent management and automation and its impact on talent management and the IT expenditures that are related with that. There is SAP's solution for this, and I've heard SAP talk about a suite, best in suite, I think is how they've phrased it in the past. There's other tools that are out there that are more point solutions, let's say Workday or QuickBooks specifically for like an Excel sort of world or an accounting world. Like, there's these different tools that affect different areas, and I just wondered if you might be able to talk about your vision of the mid-market and SAP's role. And it's because it does a lot of things. You've got success factors, you've got all different modules and features for all different organizations, and then roles within the organizations. Maybe you could just talk about that idea of it being best in class for all.
Yeah, so we clearly see a need for lots of core business capabilities. And this is where the mid-market is somewhat different from the large enterprise market. In the large enterprise market, you must have a built-in talent management system. Because if you get 1,000 resumes per month, and you need to hire always at least 100 people, then you need a very well-sorted mechanism to do all of that. That is why we acquired SuccessFactors, because SuccessFactors is perfect when it comes to talent management, to onboarding strategies, to learning management capabilities, to skills databases. So then you need that. In the mid-market, everybody tells me, yeah, Rainer, this sounds smashing. And trust me, as soon as I hit 1,000 employees, I'll come back to you and buy it. But for now, I need something a little low-tech. And that is where I recommend to the companies, look, either that there are also smaller solutions out there. And I would never, ever claim that SAP can deliver everything, and specifically not in the mid-market. So I'm very clear about what are the bits and pieces that only I can deliver, because it is either so freaking complicated that nobody else is really willing to do it, that maybe on the machine learning side or on building country versions. That is the worst nightmare that you can go into. So I'm very clear about what are the things that I need to bring to the table, and what are the things, for example, in field service management, where I can lean back a little bit and say, Vista View, Jory, you solve this problem for me. So this is the handshake. So therefore, SAP acquires solutions so that we can bring many solutions to the table. That is why we sometimes use the term best in class, best in suite. So we provide the ingredients, But that is also the difference in the selling motion or in the buying motion, in the buying preference. A large enterprise customer has a completely different buying preference than the typical VistaView customer. When I'm working with BASF, they say, SAP, we've decided
I'm
that
here.
our CRM system is this. We've decided.
Sorry, I couldn't find anything like that in your home.
Oh, weird. Is that some AI thing?
That triggered my.
Let me switch off my smart home, but I think it wasn't. So a large enterprise company goes for a best of breed approach. And they will identify, with the help of Gartner Group IDC, who is the best in class for this specific category. And pretty often they say SAP is absolutely best in class when it comes to finance and logistics. And whether I now like it or not, I meet companies who say, you know what? I've chosen Salesforce as CRM system. I've chosen Workday as HCM system. I still believe that my HCM system is the best on the planet, but for whatever reason, they've decided for something else. So therefore, I must construct S/4HANA Cloud differently than by design, because by design is a suite in the box. When Phil sells by design or proposes by design to a company, his value proposition is this is a suite in a box. It comes with all of the processes that you need. You don't need to worry about how you wire them up, because the small company will say, yeah, best of breed sounds great, but I don't have the people who can stitch the stuff together.
Right.
Single source of truth.
Yeah, which is, I know, one of the problems that happens a lot of times with the, you've got different data sets all over the place that are, and because of these different systems. And so finding the core business systems that connect on one platform was, I imagine, a big undertaking from your point of view in terms of providing
Absolutely,
value.
and that's the equivalent to my home automation example. That's the reason why most people buy home automation equipment just from one vendor, because they specifically don't want to do what I did, which is stitch the different bits and pieces together and then apologize to my family why, yes, the shades are down, but you can still operate the light. And let me tell you, my family doesn't appreciate this difference. Therefore, they also sometimes would love me buying just the suite in a box instead of a federated suite. But if you work with larger companies, they can easily handle this complexity, and the value add that they get is the level of specialization, that they have a full-blown talent management system, which is then completely integrated into externally facing job portals, that they can guarantee that they only assign people to jobs on project assignments, for example, who have gone through all of the required trainings, have all of the certificates, and they can document at a later point in time, these were the 5 people on the project, these are the certificates that they have.
Right. Phil and I had we've had lots of great conversations over the last, since we started working together, but we've been talking about positioning quite a bit. And Phil, I don't know, maybe if you want to take this question.
My suspicion is that SAP are looking at different products and then saying, and putting them into the different parts of the ecosystem. So,
Yes.
We're talking about mid-market.
Yes.
Anything above $10 million up to maybe $1 billion. It's a significant place to exist.
Yeah.
Is there any way that you could give us, if NetSuite's in the mix, should I be going with business by design? If Workday's in the mix, should I be going with S4 Cloud? Where are the natural competitors, and how do you see that? How do you see that changing into the future?
Yeah. So positioning and how do I target the market is obviously one of the key questions.
Yeah.
And it starts with what we discussed a minute ago, that you first need to understand what is the buying motion of a customer in a specific segment. And I already mentioned that the higher up we get in the mid-market, and we are still in the mid-market, let's say there's an artificial line somewhere around, I would say, 250 million US dollars. Above that line, companies have this grown-up IT organization. We don't need to discuss the basics of business processes. And they go for specialization. Therefore, for this market, I very much so need S/4HANA in all of its different flavors. Public cloud is great for the mid-market, but if you go, for example, into certain regulated industries, where one of the criteria of public cloud is, or of the uniquenesses of public cloud is that I will upgrade the system whether you like it or not. But if you are in the life sciences industry, okay, that may work for you because I tell you 2 years in advance when I will do it. But I also know very large pharmaceutical companies who say, Rainer, you're not telling us when to upgrade. We will inform you when we feel that it's the right time to upgrade. And therefore, they will need either a private cloud environment or they will need an on-premise environment. So therefore, it all starts with understanding what does the customer need, and then to really derive how should the product look like so that we can meet these requirements. Like in the mid-market, let's say 200 million and below. The companies will say, look, I don't have this IT department. I don't even want to have these people in my organization. Give me the suite in the box, and you, Vista, you run for me not only the implementation, you also run for me day-to-day operations. If somebody forgets their password, you help them. If somebody wants something else, you help them. If I need an extension into my revolving door system, Vista, you do it. And then we have the very low end, where we have the small offices, but they have amazing growth ambitions, for which I need a different setup. And therefore, I have Business One, Business by Design, and S/4HANA. Obviously, my life would be a lot easier if I could work the entire market just with one solution. But so far, my customers have not yet agreed on one buying pattern or one buying preference. And yeah, that's the reason how we position.
I guess that, the key to that is, whilst we've got different solutions, having a single platform for you to develop on is probably going to give you some real benefits.
Yep.
Applications developed for Business by Design available into S/4HANA or Business One is seriously the future.
Yes. No, and that's where SAP has invested hundreds of millions in the last couple of years into what we describe as the business technology platform. And we did it also for a very selfish point of view, because take the topic of carbon footprint management. I don't know how hot that topic is in Canada, but I can tell you with the upcoming taxation in Europe on CO2 emissions, this has a legal aspect, because if you have more than 250 employees as of 2024, you must publish your CO2 numbers, and it must be audited by an external auditing firm. And in the past, I would have had to build it 3 times. I had to build it into Business One, I had to build it into By Design, I had to build it into S4. With Business Technology Platform, for the first time since 2022, I can now build net new business processes just once and integrate them into S4 By Design Business One.
Wow.
Is it Phil and I were chatting about this. Is it fair to link that idea of BTP to, say, the Apple App Store? Like, is that a fair comparison to make?
Well, yes, in principle it is, because that is what also my customers want. They understand and accept that I'm not solving each and every business problem. That they may need this revolving door integration, just to pick one example, or the integration into electronic scales in their manufacturing environment. And okay, now they can phone up Phil and say, "Hey, Phil, what do you have?" But and that was the very traditional way, let's say 10 years ago. But with all of us being so used to log on to a shop where I can see which applications are available, that is something that the customers really demand. And therefore, store.sap.com is one of the most important pieces of our forward-looking strategy to establish a marketplace where VistaView can say, "Hey, we have an amazing field services solution. It works with ByDesign, it works with Business One, it works with S4, it works in these and these countries. Here is a video of what it does. Here you can test drive the solution." It is one of these examples where I said earlier, this is a business to consumer experience, which now spills over into the corporate world. I still sense that the customers are not yet willing to press the button and say, I download the thing. And
Right.
I said it live myself. So that's where they would hopefully rather get in contact with you. But to have the transparency, what is available, that is a key thing. And I'm motivating all of my partners to network amongst each other, because especially the ByDesign partners are really good at saying who has special expertise. VistaView has, just to pick one example, experience with rental equipment, with field services, and many other topics. I have other partners who are really good at enterprise asset management. And to link them up is also one of my key responsibilities.
I think we did that for you by forming a Cloudster, which is
Yes.
Yeah, a significant benefit to all the members within it. If we look at a customer that I've closed this morning, they have operations in the UK, the US, the Canada, Germany, France, Spain. The last thing I need my 50 consultants in VistaView doing is driving or flying to Spain and sitting and not being able to have a conversation in Spanish with the business system, whilst the solution is being delivered in Spanish. It makes a huge benefit to us as an organization. And going on a little bit about that, how do you see the future from these partner networks really helping our customers out? Our philosophy is customer for life. And the first thing that you do when you're a Canadian business and you've done really well in your marketplace, I suspect, is that you could then go and think about a complementary product in Germany or something along those lines. Can you have you seen much of that type of growth historically with the products that you've been selling?
Well, absolutely. And the customer expect from you that wherever the customer goes, you go with them. And they understand the limitations of a company like VistaView. They understand that you can't be present in all parts of the world, but they want a credible answer. They will say, if I decide to invest in France tomorrow, how will you support me there? And I had, it's already quite a while ago, I had a discussion with a company in Germany. They are making highly specialized software for the pharmaceutical industry. So all of the laboratory information system. And they competed a lot with us, and they won a lot of deals against us, which got pretty much on our nerves. And one day the CEO called me and he said, "Can we talk?" And I said, "Yeah, of course. What can I do for you?" And he said, "Look, if my customers grow beyond a certain size, they branch out to the world. And I can help them in Germany, in Austria, and Switzerland, but I can't help them in Spain. So he says, can I have your by design solution as my platform?" And I said, "Explain it to me." And he said, "Look, I need reach." And I said, "Define reach for me." He says, reach means in which countries could I do business if I would work for you? How big is the market that you can open up for me? And we then entered a partnership, and they specialized in building specific extensions. But from that day on, when their customer said, "We're going to Kazakhstan," they would say, "Yeah, I can also support you in Kazakhstan." Not me personally, but I know the company which has a country version for by design in Kazakhstan, and they are even present in the country, and they can support you there. And therefore, this networking is a key thing, and to build networks is a core competency of partners.
Mm-hmm. It makes me think it's a kind of a 1-2 punch with SAP as well, because you've got the product that's, you mentioned, the global footprint that SAP has, which also lends itself to doing things like exchange rates and doing transactions in each individual country. So it functions properly. It's kind of like a Big Mac in France is the same as a Big Mac in Texas, right? Like it's that kind of thing where the experience is the same across the globe, but then you also have a partner support network that can be done through the networks and the partners like you and the Cloudster group.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly that. So yeah, it makes it really easy. I was talking to a customer yesterday morning based in Dubai who wants to roll out business by design in in the US and Canada, and he has a great relationship with his company that he works with in Dubai. My next chance will be to speak to that company in Dubai and introduce them into the Cloudster network, because we don't have a company in that region, and
the Middle East is a boom region. So it is expect a lot of growth and a lot of demand from these countries.
Rainer, I know we've got about 10 minutes or so. There's a few things that we're talking about, the future and the plans that you've got. I know some work you've done on ChatGPT specifically for this. So I wanted to give you a chance to talk about that. And then also just like there's this ongoing challenge with inflation, supply chain is constantly under pressure. We talked about talent management anyway, but just talking about some of the solutions that you're excited about that are helping solve some of the problems that exist out there.
Yeah, well, I think these problems are really opportunities, specifically also for you. If I just read how much the Biden administration, I know that I'm talking to a Canadian partner and with lots of customers, but it will have an impact on Canada. If the reindustrialization of North America just happens at a 10% level of what the ambition is, just 10%, it will change the world. We will see an unparalleled demand for solutions in the supply chain area. because for lots of reasons, North America has deindustrialized itself and outtasked many things to China, to Far East in general, to Latin America. And now when we saw how, I think the number was 42 million containers were stacked up in the harbor of Shanghai, the company said, we can't accept that risk any longer.
Mm-hmm.
It may happen again. This was not the last COVID that this planet will see. And so we are entering in a brand new era now where companies say, number one, how many suppliers do I have? Do I have, for all of my critical supplies, do I have multiple suppliers? What is the carbon footprint of transporting goods from here to there? So we will see, in the past it was, how cheap can I get something?
Right.
In the future, it will be a lot more often the question, how resilient is my supply situation?
Right.
At which carbon footprint does the whole thing happen? And at which price?
Mm-hmm.
So we are adding more dimensions into the equation, and this is an amazing opportunity ahead of us. And I'm watching, for example, the index for property in the Midwest,
Mm-hmm.
which was super cheap 10, 15 years ago. And everybody said Detroit is going down, and so on and so on and so on. If you look at the prices, they're going through the roof now. I just heard here this week, VW, our famous German manufacturer, has a big plan for a battery factory in Eastern Europe. They put it on hold. They are reconsidering that investment in North America. Imagine what that means now.
Yeah.
So there's a lot going on. So everything around supply chain will be a fascinating topic for the years to come. So that will keep us super busy on the technology side, because you gave me the buzzword of ChatGPT.
Yeah.
I have two boys, one writing his bachelor thesis at the moment and one writing his master's thesis. And I said, boys, daddy needs a brush up on what the heck is going on with this ChatGPT thing. How are you using it in your daily life? And so they showed me what they are doing.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my UK partners asked me for a little contribution to a booklet they are producing. They said, Rainer, can you contribute 600 words on how SAP contributes to the digital transformation of its customers? And I said, let's try it out. Okay, it took me 3 days until I reached a slot where the system accepted me. And then I said 600 words on digital transformation.
Mm-hmm.
I looked at the text and said, oh, this is freaking good. Okay, I wouldn't publish it like that, but I was excited enough. So I took one of my teams and said, find out what I can do with ChatGPT. And I just want to show you one thing that they did for me. Share. They went into ChatGPT and set the system, set up a bot, the bots that we discussed earlier, for Business One. And this is what ChatGPT came back with. And then my team said, which statements are correct in green? Which statements are pure fiction in red, and which is so-so? So ChatGPT didn't say, oh, I have a vague idea of how to do it, and these might be things. ChatGPT said, these are now exactly the points that you need to run through. And if you would not be an experienced person, you would already fail with log into ML cockpit, because there is no log into ML cockpit.
Mm-hmm.
But you see here, so in principle, ChatGPT is doing a lot of cool things, but then it is getting creative, putting screenshots in for stuff that has nothing to do with it. So
Yeah.
I believe that ChatGPT will really be a game changer in our industry.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting together with Microsoft next week to discuss what we can do. But what ChatGPT will be an engine, without any doubt. But our customers rely on the fact that what the thing proposes is factually correct.
Right.
And that is what we need to work on. And I can now say, okay, excuse ChatGPT stopped learning, at least the version which we all are toying around with, end of 2021. And 2021, there was not a lot of knowledge about this topic available, so it will all get better. But there are a couple of issues on the quality of the response, how the model is built, and once again, unfortunately, the favorite topic in Europe, data privacy. Where do you process actually my data, which we need to solve. But as I said, fasten your seatbelts. The next couple of years, we will see stuff, and Phil knows my champion in that area, Simona Marinche, and Simona is super excited about what we are seeing. The advantages, we have a close relationship with IBM on Watson. We have the close relationship with Microsoft and OpenAI on ChatGPT. Now let's see how we put this stuff to work.
It won't take long. My suggestion will be to integrate ChatGPT into your Excel spreadsheet and say, can we total up column 1? Can we do an average variance?
It does that already. It does that already.
Yeah.
It says, if I tell ChatGPT, take WordPress, create me a homepage for a travel agency, it spits out the HTML code.
Yes. When will it be doing ABAP code?
Well, ChatGPT hasn't yet gotten its tentacles around ABAP, but that's just a matter of time.
Or integrate this piece of functionality into this functionality, using this method. It's not long away. And again, another huge benefit to those organizations that want to, grow with Business by Design, because we've already opened up, the APIs. With Business One, we've already opened up the APIs. With Cloud, we've already opened up the APIs. We're not charging for them in the vast majority of cases. So it's the network again.
We really need to test this area now, and I also need to hold myself a little bit back, because when I got my first Google Glass, I was excited like hell.
Sat in a drawer. I've still got my first iPhone.
But let's watch. Therefore, I really enjoy also the partnerships that we are having with Intel, with Microsoft, with many of the other companies, that I can pick and choose those technologies and then really hand it over to VistaView and say, I cannot predict what you will do with it, but I can at least provide you with a foundation, and then we take it forward.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's really exciting future, particularly for organizations that are investing in, great technology like
Yes.
SAP.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rainer, this has been really great. I really appreciate your time.
Well, my pleasure.
It's super fascinating to sort of.
Thanks for all of your questions. We only answered 5% of it. So
Well, there's always another time. There's always the next time.
please, very happy to come back and chat with you.
That's great. Thanks so much. And Phil, thank you for helping out and co-hosting.
No,
We make this a duo at some point. Make
Yeah,
it official.
indeed. We need a
Thanks
count.
again.